Welcome in to the Mile High Hoops podcast with me, Jake Shapiro, right here on Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Make sure you're checking out all of our stuff on YouTube, like and subscribe. But today, we've got a big question to ask about both the NBA and the makeup of the Denver Nuggets. And that is because Mike Singer, phenomenal writer who used to be the beat writer for the Denver Nuggets for the Denver Post, who now works for the Nuggets. He was on the Hoop Collective podcast with Brian Windhorst of ESPN, and he dropped a fabulous little nugget. See what I did there? Quote, the Nuggets knew that Vlade Divac, who was at the time the Kings GM, was not particularly high on Luka Doncic, and they had designs on pairing Nikola Jokic with Luka Doncic. On draft night in 2018, they tried. There was a call placed. There was a proposal, and the Nuggets attempted to get the number 2 pick for Gary Harris and 2 first-round picks, is what I was told. Let that sink in. That's right. Gary Harris and 2 firsts, basically the package that landed the Nuggets, Aaron Gordon, a little bit later, was on the table for the Sacramento Kings for Luka Doncic. Now, you might be saying, well, that doesn't sound like a fair trade for the Kings. And I don't disagree. When there was Luka Doncic and Trae Young and Jaren Jackson still on the board, that would have been a better deal to take one of those picks instead of the trade the Nuggets were offering. But that's not what the Kings did. They drafted Marvin Bagley, and Marvin Bagley is an all-time draft bust. Right now, Marvin Bagley, 267 games into his NBA career, is coming off the bench for the Wizards, averaging 3 points per game. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Gary Harris has had a phenomenal career since. He had a good year or two after that proposed trade, and he was a really solid player for the Nuggets, but both injuries and the move to the Magic have kind of dampened Gary Harris's impact. But those 2 first-round picks, still more valuable than what Bagley has been. So the what if on the Kings side, somehow in trading Luka Doncic on draft night would have been better than the what happened. But I'm not really concerned with the Sacramento Kings, right? Colorado, we're in Denver. We're interested in what happened with the Nuggets. Obviously, Luka Doncic, who is a 5-time All-NBA player, playing alongside Nikola Jokic, a 3-time MVP. They're best friends off the court and, obviously rivals right now on the court, 2 of the better teams in the Western Conference. Both have led their teams to an NBA Finals, 1 to a title. Them together would be 2 of the best players to ever have played together. We're talking like Shaq Kobe, Jordan Pippen, Johnson and Kareem level, right? But do the Nuggets still win their title without the pieces that they had and having Luka Doncic instead? Well, they'd still have Jamal Murray, right? Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and Luka Doncic. That's certainly good enough to win a title as the big 3, and then you fill out around it. But they wouldn't have probably had either Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr. Because in the 2018 draft, which is likely the pick they would have traded, Michael Porter Jr. was who the Nuggets selected. And yeah, he had a rough rookie year and, some have some quarrels with his max contract and such. The fact of the matter is very few guys in the NBA shoot better than him. And at 6'10", he is developed into a solid all-around player. And I think he was integral in the Nuggets title run. And again, the package for Doncic was the one for Gordon. The Nuggets traded 2 first-round picks, essentially, because RJ Hampton was just selected by the Nuggets, and a pick that's yet to convey in 2025, plus Gary Harris for Aaron Gordon. Now, there is a debate to be made of if Jeremy Grant stays in this scenario or if they make the Jeremy Grant trade to begin with or maybe ship out that asset, which ended up, by the way, being Emmanuel Quickley. If they keep those assets and still find a way to get Gordon, I don't know if that still happens. But basically, you're looking at a trade that is Luka Doncic for Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. That's in my mind. Now, I don't know if the Nuggets win a title in that scenario. I'm going to play it out on 2K. Like, I'm going to go back in 2018. I'm going to make that deal. I'm going to see what happens. Obviously, I'll probably still win the title because, it's easy to cheese the AI in 2K. We'll never know the answer to this question. But I do know that the Denver Nuggets, who I never expected to win a title in my lifetime and ended up with one of the best players of all time, won a title with that core of guys. So it's almost like, do you trade what you know for what you don't know, right? The bird in the hand versus the two in the bush, literally. And I don't know that the Nuggets are going to win another title. I don't. I know that they still are one of the best basketball teams in the world when they're healthy. I know it would be really fun to watch Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic play. And, you got to think about the fit, too. Like, Luka's one of the most heliocentric players on the planet. And he's learning to play a little bit more off the ball with Kyrie and the makeup they have right now with Klay Thompson. His touches are down, I think, the most they've been since his rookie year. Could he develop like an awesome two-man game with Nikola Jokic? Does that two-man game with Jamal Murray still develop and exist in a world where Luka is the focal point of the offense? Is the Nuggets defense even like competent in this world? Luka's not known as a great defender. He's a bit pudgy. Jamal is not a great defender either. Can play off ball decently. So you're basically asking to fill those two last spots in your starting five with just all world defenders, which are not easy to come by, as we've learned with, KCP and Aaron Gordon coming to Denver. Those were such big pieces. But it is fun to think about. And it is fun to consider, like, how close this was to happening. Obviously, the Kings considered it, but turned it down. But if that happens, or both Luka and Nikola are born 40 years ago, they play for the national team together, Yugoslavia, instead of Slovenia and Serbia. Like, we just missed out in a couple different ways of Nikola and Luka being teammates. And that's kind of a bummer because even in the All-Star games, when we've seen it when it's not serious, those two appear to be having so much fun to playing basketball together. They clearly see basketball similarly. They're both incredibly tricky passers, which is so fun to watch. They're both really good shooters. They both just play the game in a style that is fun to watch. And, they scream at the refs in the same way, which is kind of fun too. So I don't know. I've been thinking about that since I heard Mike talk about that on the Hoop Collective podcast. I'm sorry I don't have like collective answers for you. Maybe I'll do a podcast later on like the what if and like a stronger take and get someone involved as well. It's just fun to go down this rabbit hole, in my opinion. Speaking of Jokic, where the Denver Nuggets are at right now with their current makeup, they obviously don't have Luka Doncic. Their next home game is against Luka Doncic. Their last home game was against Luka Doncic. And those are the two straight games Nikola Jokic is going to play. He has not played since that last home game against Dallas. He probably will not play again. Well, his next chance to play, I should say, is on Friday against the Dallas Mavericks because the Nuggets are sitting Nikola Jokic again tonight. He is out for personal reasons. I've talked about this a little bit kind of in passing. There's some rumors that his wife is in labor or had a baby or something like that. I do not know for certain. I'm just sharing what is kind of being talked about. All I know is the message I've received is that it's nothing to be too concerned about and that Nikola is fine. So given, some of the information we may or may not have and kind of adding some things together, it makes sense that the Nuggets would also rest Nikola for 12 days and not take him on a 3-game road trip, right? Like early on in the season, get him an extended rest because the Nuggets had those 5 days off and then they have the 3-game road trip. So Denver found a spot to rest Nikola, which I think was pretty key given the fact that he's playing 40 minutes a night in the first 10 games. So takes the next 3 games off. that should help him quite a bit. And this is something that I expected the Nuggets to do. I talked about this in the preview pod, that the Nuggets were going to find some spots to really rest Nikola. They've done it a little bit the last couple of years, but not like this. And I think this is going to be pretty key in the Nuggets not running out of gas down the stretch, although the only guy who didn't run out of gas in Game 7 of the playoffs last year was Nikola Jokic. Still, his legs looked a little shot in that series, and that's probably why his 3-ball was not as consistent. So, what the Nuggets are without Nikola Jokic is really not even worth talking about. Obviously, some people are upset with Jamal Murray's performances, and they expect a little more out of Porter or whatever it might be. You have to also mention that Aaron Gordon's out and he continues to recover from a calf strain. So the Nuggets are down their starting front court, and it's kind of hard to judge them based off of what their players should or shouldn't be doing in connection to the fact that their whole team is built off the idea that Nikola Jokic is going to be there. So I'm not going to judge Jamal off of this. It would be nice if he was playing better, obviously. But he's historically a slow starter, and he's doing what he's done historically, and he's missed a couple games as well. So the Nuggets play Memphis tonight. That's going to be a tough watch. It is on 9 News, which is fun. I love the over the air. That is great, easy to watch. But the next time the Nuggets are really going to be worth watching are against Dallas on Friday, which is an NBA Cup game. I think tonight's an NBA Cup. Yeah, tonight's an NBA Cup game too. So if the Nuggets lose tonight, they're probably out of the picture for advancing the NBA Cup because they lost on Friday. So they need to win tonight. And then they need to probably win Friday to have a shot at the NBA Cup advancement, which would, I think like December 3rd is their last NBA Cup group round stage game or something like that. Either way, there's an argument to be made that the Nuggets probably don't want to advance an NBA Cup because they are focused on other things. So I'll be watching that tonight. I'll be watching how the front court is with their depth. I'll be seeing if Jamal Murray can carry the team. This is a Memphis team without Ja Morant, so to lose the way that they lost the other night was a little embarrassing. But nonetheless, again, I am not really judging them based off of the fact that their team is built around Nikola Jokic, and he is not there. So come Friday against Dallas, I am hoping to see another banger of a game. The last time we saw them play Dallas, that was awesome. And on Thursday's podcast, when we are back on the Mile High Hoops podcast, which will be on YouTube, so like and subscribe and comment. And I see your comments. Saw all those comments the other day. I liked all of them. Make sure you tune into Thursday's pod because we will preview that big matchup with the Dallas Mavericks on Friday. Jake Shapiro, Mile High Hoops podcast.